Call the regular monthly meeting of the Johnson County Fiscal Court to order at this time. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Shall anyone lead us to the pledge? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is the approval of the minutes of the December 12th regular meeting. You have those in your packet. Any suggested changes, corrections, or amendments to the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gamble to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Daniel. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the approval of the monthly bills. You have those bills, I think, also in your packet. Maybe you had a few that over that came in after the agenda was made. Is there any questions or comments about the bills? Addie, is there anything extraordinary?
No, about as usual, Judge.
Okay, had usual course of doing business, I guess.
Move to approve the bills as presented.
Motion to approve the payment of the bills by Commissioner Daniel.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Adams. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the transfers for the fiscal court. That involves the $40,000 monthly from the general fund to the jail fund. Is there any questions or comments about the jail bills? This probably is the most significant continuing bill that we have in county government. Of course, all counties are in the same boat. We are obligated to pay to maintain the jail. We have a regional jail that kind of different from most jails in the state. I think there's only 4 or 5 in there, Sheriff, somewhere about that regional jails. There's just very few.
How many counties?
How many regional jails, you know? Is there 4 or 5?
I'm not really sure. I'd guess about 3 or 4.
I know it's a small number, and it's never easy to continue to spend $500,000 on services at the jail, which is all the money that we get from pretty much every single penny we get from taxes. Property taxes goes to operate the jail, but it is something that state mandated. We have no options other than to do that. So just editorial comment, no value to anybody else, I guess.
Make a motion to do the transfer from the general fund to the jail fund.
Motion by Commissioner Adams to approve the transfer.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Daniel. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the approval of the second reading of the clerk's budget. We went through the first reading last month. I went through the document in a little closer detail, and it seems to be substantially not much different from last year's budget. It's a pleasure to court with regard. I think the motion is in order. There's no further questions or clarifications by the court.
I'll make a motion we accept the second reading of the first 2016 budget.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gamble to approve the second reading of the clerk's budget for 2017.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Adams. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the first reading of the sheriff's budget. Haven't had time to go through this in great detail, but it appears to be relatively close to the last year's numbers, aren't they?
It's a little more, but we've got
Yeah.
2 grants from
That's
Mountain Top that,
What I thought. Any other questions? Same, the sheriff's pattern is the same as the clerk. We have a first reading. That goes to Frankfurt for review. The state local finance officer comes back here and time frame is generally November or December the 15th. But we do have a little bit of wiggle room, I think, on that. So if you vote on this tonight and then there's a question that comes up before the next meeting, you feel free to ask at that time.
Make a motion to accept the first reading of the sheriff's budget.
I have a motion by Commissioner Adams, and for the press's benefit, you have a copy of the document, right? Okay. If you have any questions at all, there's a lot of numbers there. If you have any questions at all, as we said last month with the clerk's budget, feel free to ask later on. If any time that something might come up, give us a call. We can't answer, we'll ask the sheriff to respond, but we forego reading every single detail.
I appreciate that, sir.
Any, Paul's have a motion and seconded by Commissioner Daniel. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next item is the Kentucky Ambulance Block Grant Program. As you know, every year, I think for the last 10 years or so, isn't it, Gary?
Been a long time.
This thing's been in place.
Right.
It's approximately $10,000 every year. And even when we had multiple providers of ambulance services in the county, we opted always to apply for this money on behalf of the city ambulance service. They were a local city government nonprofit versus the other providers were for-profit companies. So I'm glad we were able to continue to allocate money like this. I know that they're like everybody else. Costs you guys more to operate all the time, and you're looking for money anywhere you can find it, I guess, and we're about in the same boat. With regard to that, we have request by the Paintsville Police Department that we apply for this money in the cost of $9,994.35 under was that the Senate bill that originally allocated that money? Is that a continuing?
66. I think it's Senate Bill 66, I believe.
Yeah, that's right, that's one. And there's no deadline on that, that's not gonna drop dead someday, is it? Regina, have you heard of anything like that?
I don't know.
I don't either, they got a new legislature down there, and you never know what they're gonna do with the existing legislation, so we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. But the Paintsville request for that money, with that money, if they get it, will be used to either hold or in part to purchase 6 retractable head and oxygen cylinder holders, 4 oxygen carry packs, 6 personal response bags, 4 intubation modules, 4 NARKit modules. Is that NARKit? Is that like that emergency?
No, it's not Narcan, it's different medications, but I can see where you think that
Okay. 4 IV catheter holders, 2 automated external defibrillators, 1 power driver, intraosseous device. What in the world is that?
is. That is if a normal IV isn't available, if they can't get one, this device can actually start the fluids within the bone.
Okay.
And that's a last resort.
So that's the request by the city. Like I said, I'm glad we have the city providing the service. You guys have always been very professional in dealing with us, and we appreciate that so much. I would recommend, absent any objection, a motion to approve this for the city. Motion by Commissioner Daniel.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamble. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Do you have an original of this, or do you want us to use one of these?
That would be fine, yes, sir.
Okay. I'll give you this after the session. Next item, as you know, every 4 years, state law requires that every county have a road foreman and also a treasurer that have contracts. They're the only 2 people, I guess, in the county that have employment contracts per se. And this is a time to approve the road foreman's contract. Sam Oxford has been road foreman for 17 years and worked for probably 25 or so for the county. Does an outstanding job. I think we're very fortunate to have him and his group. We have one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best road departments in the state of Kentucky, and I mean that sincerely. I don't make that claim lightly. I've seen the way they operate. I've seen the way a lot of other counties operate. A lot of counties contact us, come in and want to know what we're doing, how we're doing it, and we've held kind of training courses, if you would, for a lot of counties that surround us, trying to help out, and this would be my recommendation for the road foreman, and then the treasurer. Did we do the treasurers already? Okay, but the fiscal court handles the treasurer's recommendation, and I hereby recommend that we approve the
good until 2019.
She said it was good till 19.
That's already been approved for 4 years.
I thought so, that's what I,
Yeah.
reason I asked, I couldn't remember exactly when we did
You
it.
wasn't gonna forget me, was you?
No, absolutely. So, did we have
Make a motion.
a motion by Commissioner Adams,
Second.
second by Commissioner Daniel, any other discussion? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That's all we have. We had a very brief agenda today. You have Gary McClure back here that is back with us after undergoing a couple of scary activities that you all remember about a month or so ago when he disappeared. We didn't know where he was until sent out a posse looking for him. He was kind of in the hospital. But Gary, we're glad to see you back on the job and doing well. And looks like you've been busy since you've been back.
Yeah, you can see my activity reports increased a little bit past month compared to the other 2 months. But yeah, we're doing good. Just a couple things, if you'll notice on the activity report, we did conduct a full-scale exercise at Paul B. Hall a couple of weeks ago. They was needing to get exercise in before the end of the year. They have to do that for their accreditation team every year, and worked real close with this guy sitting over here with the fire department. And but anyway, we had an exercise there one Thursday evening that went well, and had a lot of people participate, a lot of different response agencies, and plan on doing more exercises and training the coming year. And you'll also see where I've had a couple of meetings with the 2 school systems, and hadn't had a chance to talk to the sheriff yet or city police, but we hope to do some more training within the schools this coming year as far as response, safety things, and trying to respond as a group, maybe hopefully have some exercises at the school. But I've met with Mr. Salmons and Mr. Sawyer back in December and discussed a lot of this, and something my goal is to kind of focus on and try to coordinate somewhat this coming year. I feel like it's really important, and you know, as the old saying goes, it can happen anytime, anywhere, and I want us to be prepared to the best of our ability.
Does the state conduct training sessions, or do they leave it up pretty much to the schools to develop their own programs, safety programs?
Well, Kathy, I guess a lot of it's left up to the schools, but I think Kathy knows, and I don't know if you got a chance to participate in the KSP training.
No, but we kind of remember they had it.
Yeah, and I know Johnson County, 3 or 4 or 5 of the schools have done it. Kate, and I don't know, Dwayne and some of his deputies could have been involved too, but they come in and do a real, well, what word to put on it, but training on active shooters. And I'm not law enforcement, but I know a few years back it was always, everybody was under the mindset if you had an active shooter, you went into a room and you hid somewhere, you know, the teacher and the students. That mindset has changed totally. Now it's run, hide, or fight.
Yeah. Don't go down without a fight.
Yeah, and if you go to the KSP homepage on the internet, there's a video for about 10 minutes that shows what type of training that they come in and do. And I know I was sick, I was going to attend, but they had it at Paintsville High School. It was back November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The staff really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it's eye-opening.
I heard that today, as you all know, we have another shooting situation in Florida. And at one point I was listening to that commentary, and they said I think there were 15 schools that were locked down in that general area. Are you guys involved with any of the school systems on anything like that, any training like that?
Yes, we participated with KSB as well. We didn't make it to Paintsville, but they had one a couple years ago at Central. And we participated in that.
But it's sad we've reached that point in the lives of people in this country that unfortunately it's not something that's going to go away, don't look like. And I think every police officer out there might as well have a big red target on their back as far as I'm concerned. With the attitude in this country today, it's sad. How we got that to that point, I'll never know.
Right.
Because policemen are the first people we look for in an emergency. And to think that has been able, that attitude of the public has eroded to the point where policemen are the bad guys. And it seems to be some parts of the country, they think, right, that's okay, we understand these people, they're troubled people and so forth, bull, they got weapons. The guy gets on an airplane, he plans to take his weapon with him and pack it in a bag and have it checked, and then get off in Florida and pick his bag up and load the vehicle with a gun and start shooting that, and then say, well, he has mental problems. He was smart enough to do what he did. But it's something that this country it's getting worse instead of better, in my opinion. And appreciate everything you got to do. I think for a small county, we're doing a very good job in professionalism in how we handle emergency situations. I commend all you people that are involved with first response and reaction to these kinds of things. And we thank you so much for your service. Any other discussion or comments or anything come before the court at this time for the good of the county? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion, I need a second. Second, all in favor? Adjourn.